And we got the lights, camera, action. And I think we're recording. Hello, hello. Can you hear me? Who's home? Who's up? Wake up. Taffy, Zoe, where is everybody? Okay. We're going to talk about the week of July 24th. How is your summer going, everybody? We mentioned the July 24th video, or we mentioned some of the events for July 24th and why it was going to be kind of an important time in our world. Yeah, I said it. Not just like for me and my chart and for you, but like worldwide. It's a big deal because I spoke about the North Node and the South Node and Pluto doing this. Oh my God. Like, how do you do it? How do I hold on? My I can't. Yeah, you could see me the first time doing this, right? And then imagine another hand lying across the top going like that. So it creates what we call a T-square. Or you could look at it as to like a left triangle, a right triangle. But in astrology, that's 90 degrees angle. And that's called a square, stress and tension. But it throws a 90-degree angle that way and it throws a 90-degree angle that way, while two of these points up here are opposing each other. More water. Hold on. I don't know where the hell my pen is, but anyway, so the T-square thing, right? So it's like this. It's this. Yeah. It is this little doohickey thing right here, just like that. So there's an opposition, and then there's a square. That same opposition, and then a square, right? So it's like that. So I'm going to show it to you what that looks like on paper, no, or on the screen. And so this is the chart of the moment for July 24th, and it involves Pluto. And Pluto is being T-squared by the North Node and the South Node. The North Node is now in Aries, our future. Think of all the things about Aries, born for war because Mars rules Aries. So possibly something to do with weapons, possibly war, soldiers, even police, any armed forces. Remember, this is a global aspect. It's Pluto up in the sky and the North and the South Node. Right. So this is everywhere, all of us. And it doesn't mean that I'm saying we're going to war or whatever, because there's already wars going on. There's wars that never even freaking end. And you might just call them different words. But there's an angle from Pluto to that North Node, and that North Node being my future. But it's not just about war and fighting, although there is a lot of very assertive and possibly aggressive energy involved with it because it's Aries. But Aries is really more about me, who I am, fighting for my freedoms, fighting for my identity, fighting for whatever I would define as the freedoms of my body. And we all know how like one person's freedoms can kind of, hey, like when you're sitting in the car, I love this example. You're two people in the front seat. I remember this one person I was dating and I was driving. And the car I had at the time, matter of fact, it's the same car I still have. The car I had has for the driver, it's got, like they were kind of like bucket seats, I guess you call them. But for whatever reason, because it was a very economy type of a car, very economical, really good on gas mileage. Although now I think its gas mileage gets blown out of the water. But back in the day when I bought it brand new, it was like, ooh, this has really got great mileage. Anyway, so the car, being economical, had a rest, an armrest for the driver. And I have a stick shift, right? So that's a pretty important deal because you're using your right arm and you're using it often. You're using your right hand and you're using it often. And so typically your right hand, you can drive like this, but many times it's one-handed and you got one hand down here, right? So it makes sense to let your elbow rest on that. Well, anyway, this one person, I'll put it like this. The passenger seat didn't have an armrest. Don't ask me why, just didn't have an armrest. So what I found is whenever I was driving, I would go to put my arm on my armrest, and lo and behold, the passenger would use my armrest for my chair, the driver's seat, the bucket seat, the driver's seat. I would like my arm, this person would already have their arm on my armrest. And that's not to say the seats were so crammed together, although it is a smaller car. But this individual wasn't like a big guy by any means. I just said guy. Anyway, I've had very large people in the automobile, whether it was male or female. And that's the whole point of me saying the story, is because we're talking about Aries energy. And it is about also my looks and how I appear and how I identify, and how we may identify in a way where it might not match how we appear, right? So I try to leave the gender thing out of a lot of the conversation for that reason, because the energies don't care about that. It's more about be uniquely you. You see? So anyway, this person was taking up my space, my individual assigned personal space. Absolutely. And it was like that person's freedom. They didn't feel like they had enough in their own space. So they were infringing over whatever the hell you want to call it, crowding my space. And so it was just like, okay. Like, do I not matter? Am I not here? Am I not the one driving the damn car? Do I not have a right arm? Does my right arm not matter suddenly? So, not to have a crazy video, but it was to give a great example of how such a small, simple thing on a small scale, we could see how things can get really big, like, but this is mine, or this is my space, or, something that's clearly defined as yours. And then somebody else is just like, oh, well, all of a sudden this is mine, or this is ours. Or we kind of just take it in and we take possession type of thing. So you can see how that's going and how that can go in a lot of different ways. But Pluto angling that challenges it and says, we're doing something, we're changing something. There's something not right going on here, because Pluto's about power, and Pluto says, I've given you power. And Pluto is all about doing the checks and balances. And it's coming back. Pluto's coming back around, and it's saying, I'm here to see what you've done with the power I distributed. How did you get that power? Like, what means? And then what did you do with it once I gave it to you? Okay. So I think we're going to throw this up here so you can see this and see what I'm talking about. And the Aries point, when I said the North Node in Aries, there it is right there. You see that? We'll change that to red, because it's the North Node in Aries at 2903. And yeah, if I didn't say it already, Monday, July 24th, but this is for the week. Okay. This isn't just like this day. This is for the week. And honestly, when we're talking about Pluto and we're talking about the North Node, Pluto, normally it's the minutes that you pay attention to with Pluto. And you see Pluto here also. We're getting something weird going on with my stuff right now, but we'll try to make it okay. 2903. You see that? Pluto at 2903. Yeah. There's the 03. And normally you only have to be a few degrees or a few minutes away with Pluto. And those are the minutes. So Pluto is roughly moving. You'll see those minutes change like per day, right? A minute per day. So the day before it would have been at 2902, and then 2901, and then 2959 type of thing. The thing with this is that Pluto and its power and its intense power. So these are people like in government, people who have power because of their money, right? And then let's look at the T-square. So that was Aries up there I showed you. You see? So with Pluto is angling, squaring Aries energy, freedom, and possibly anything to do with anybody with like freedoms of our bodies, body autonomy, right to exist, my identity, and possibly even simply by the color of the skin. We know that is absolutely a thing, but that's not all. It's also the north node. The south node. South node in Libra at 29. All these three are at 2903. And this is fairness, checks and balances. It's the scales of justice. It's the scales of justice. You know, Lady Liberty is supposed to hold in her, that's what she's holding, the scales of justice. This is the scales of justice. So we think of the courtroom, we think of the law, the letter of the law. We think of lawyers even with the scales of justice and things being equal. Are things equal? Are things equal when we take a look at those who are in power? So my question is, Pluto squaring the north and the south. No, that's been the big thing, the big conversation, right? Because this is Pluto squaring the north and the south node. And these north and the south node opposing each other. And that's the T square I told you about. But from my perspective, it's the moon's nodes squaring Pluto. Not to say that Pluto isn't squaring the north node or squaring the south node, and the north node being our future and where we're headed. Sure. But what about the law and the fairness and the equality as well being squared and angled? And Pluto's job is to end something and bring about, to show you the truth, to bring up what's been what's been buried and what's been hidden. Hidden is buried, right? Hidden, harried, buried. Anyway, so Pluto's job is to show you what's been buried below the surface. And it's usually ugly. Maybe ugly is the wrong word. It's usually mucky and dirty. It's like the sewage in the pipes. Like, oh God, that smells horrible. I don't want to see what's down there. We don't normally see it because it's below the surface, buried deep. I know. I think we got Zoe in the room now. Someone's in down there by my ankles. And so power, government, Capricorn energy. This is a strong, strong T square on this day. And so likely the couple of days before, by that previous Friday. So if this is the 24th, that meant like the 23rd, 22nd, 21st, possibly even the 20th, hearing some things, some big things. Okay. What I will say is the moon's nodes, in my mind, having the north and the south node simultaneously squaring Pluto, this Pluto representing the past, something from the hidden and the deep. This is definitely the north and the south node here, angling those of power from the past, angling those who were in positions, whether it was government and big businesses and those abuses, the north and the south node angling. So this is like, what the hell is it going to be? It could be a whole lot of things, right? There's like a whole mixed bag of things in our mind that we can kind of put together of the different scenarios, but also look at vertex here. It's interesting because we got Hygeia right there, which tells us the state and the state of the health of something. And when we say the health of what, we look at the sign, and the sign is Aquarius. So this is group energy. This is online. This can be airlines. It's technology, inventions, electricity, those devices, but big things to help the advancement of humanity. It's social causes. So it's big systems. It's global world systems. So you can think of banking, whatever global systems, transportation, whatever global systems there are, right? But then vertex is at 19. You see that? This is at 20. This is at 19. Remember, vertex represents a person or people or a point, an opening and a closing, a door opening and a door closing, an opportunity. But what's fascinating is at this time where this exact stuff happens, not that it happens to the minute, like these planets don't move fast. So it's, yeah, on this day, we'll put it like that. On this day, look at Uranus, 22 degrees. Yes, Uranus has been here at 22 for a while, but the vertex point is a very quick mover. It's fast. So whenever the vertex is part of a thing, I'm always like, holy crap, vertex is squaring Uranus, as is Hygeia. Now, Hygeia is very slow, much slower than vertex. So Hygeia the health of our global systems, squaring Uranus in Taurus, money and banking, finances, values, ruled by Venus, love and money and values, but then vertex joins, right? And so it's just another pot in the kettle or fork in the fire or ingredient in what we're looking at here. And so vertex is part of this because it's close enough. Within minutes, within the hour, vertex moves up to 20 degrees within the hour from this because vertex moves that fast. This is at 3:18 p.m. I have this chart drawn up. So it's just interesting to see that. And the angle up also at this time, which I think is important, is to pay attention for the week, because all this so far that I've talked about will play out in the week of the 24th, because none of these are fast movers except vertex. Vertex will move. But on Monday, that's where vertex is at that time. Now, also playing out this week, Venus is now in a full retrograde. See, she's still at 28, but she's retrograding. She's in red. But look at Mercury, the news. It's in Leo at 24 degrees. You see that? So people, institutions, possibly performers, possibly politicians, possibly public figures, people who are now in the news, people in the news because of Mercury. I think this is my mom. No, it's my sibling. They're going to have to wait. I only answer for mom. I'll call back for my sibling. And then the sun is now in Leo. Look, the sun just entered Leo the day before, 2 days before, at 21 degrees. So there is a highlight on that Leo energy. You know what Leo energy represents? It's the king of the jungle. I'm at the top of the hill. You can't knock me down. I rule over everybody. Your laws don't apply to me. Those are laws that are for you. They're for the little people. They don't apply to the big people up on top. Hell no. Right? Entertainer. Think of people of wealth and power. Leo energy. People of wealth and power. That's Leo energy. Now, here's something we got to take another look at real quick. Venus, the money factor. The money factor. We're looking at the books. It's going backwards. We're seeing if there was risk taken. It's taking a look. Venus is the money. Remember, Venus rules Taurus, right? And we look back at the Taurus energy, and a couple of, on that weekend, the 23rd, the 22nd, this Mercury would have been squaring Uranus. Mercury squared Uranus that weekend. You see that? Because it would have been at 22 degrees, 21, 22 degrees easily. Right. So that would have been stress and tension, that 22 degrees mark. That would have been difficult. The other thing is Pluto. We're talking about Venus still because Venus rules Taurus energy. And Uranus is there. And Uranus represents surprises and shocks and jolts to the system. So, in the U.S. and the Fed raising interest rates, yes, yay or nay, whatever. But it looks like there's a surprise coming. So whether people are expecting a raise or expecting a stop or whatever that is, Uranus says likely there's a surprise. And I don't even know. I don't follow it closely enough to know when that's supposed to happen. It's always timed. There's a schedule involved in that. But this promises some sort of shocking news, even because Mercury, shocking news even, right? But then Venus, we're talking about Venus because the news isn't going to be just one day. It lingers and it's going to be all about the same thing. Look at Capricorn energy and Pluto and Venus. This energy right here like this, let me go to the color black. This energy, they're both at 28, right? Standing still. So this Pluto is likely aspecting it because it's Venus standing still, right? Stressful energy. It's a quincunx. It's uncomfortable. It's an irritation. It's an agitation. Money and power come up again. But people who are almost kind of like celebrity-like, but are known in power. So this can be in lots of different different governments around the world. Like we can think of a few, right? Some that begin with the letter P and some that begin with the letter T. There's the EEs and all those, right? And so this can be some very stressful stuff. Humea, the power to reconstruct and bring about an established order, but not just so much order, but give like a rejuvenation even. It's being squared, and it's got to do with things being fair and equal. You see that? Things being fair and equal. So Humea is being squared by Pluto as well here. And it can be a time where we're like, okay, what the frick is going on anyway? Right? Here's the thing. Venus and Mercury are going to cross this week because Mercury's going up, Venus is going down. So there will be some big thing, values and money, women may be involved because of Venus in the news, Mercury, social media likely because Leo energy is the entertainer, can be comedians. Let's not forget comedians. These are smart people typically. They like to be on the stage, even though they may say they don't like to be on the stage. There's something about them being in the spotlight that's important. And so Mercury and Venus, the siblings talking to each other, the sisters, I call them here, talking to each other. So something in the news and something coming about. What do you have? Do you have anything in Leo at these degrees? If you don't, not a big deal. But let's see if there's anything that angles it. Yeah. Uranus is the angle. Uranus is the angle. And Uranus is still going upward in numbers, but it's slow. It's slow here. So it's not going to, it was that Mercury thing where you would have felt that angle earlier. But in Scorpio would have brought the other square. And Scorpio energy right now is kind of empty. We do have Hermes. Hermes is in there, and Hermes is like information coming in from above. And look at it's at 28. So technically, Hermes is also it's squaring Venus. Hermes is squaring this Venus. Yep, it's a square energy. And it's not receiving a T-square. It's not doing anything. There's nothing in Aquarius at 28. And it makes it for like we're paying attention to information at this time. Paying attention. Think about your own life. Think about the sign of Leo. Think about joy, creativity, having a good time. Am I risky with my money and finances and information? Children and sports betting, likely a thing here too, possibly, or something where we're being risky because there's so much Leo energy and people want to have a good time. People want to have fun. It's summertime, right? And so we're always like, okay, how do we have fun exactly? Can we be safe? Can we do it in a safe way? Let's take a quick look at Neptune, still at 27. So overall, this Venus and Mercury is going to be the big story, and Pluto for this week. Mars by itself is now at 8 degrees. And at 8 degrees, it's trining Jupiter. Mars is trining Jupiter. You see this? Mars over here at 8 degrees. Okay. And it's an Earth. So that sends trine energy to 12-degree Jupiter. It's a wobbly trine, but for this week, Mars is going to catch up in numbers. It's going to go to 9, 10, 11, 12. It will catch up to Jupiter. So we're going to have Mars trining Jupiter. And the Mars trining Jupiter, don't go away. Wait for it. Hold on. I'm going to give you the date. You got Mars trining Jupiter by the weekend. It's tighter. It's becoming much closer. And by the following Monday, the 31st, it's Mars and Jupiter trining, matching numbers at 13 degrees. So what do you have in your chart in Taurus or Virgo at 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 degrees? This can be very beneficial in your chart. If you don't know and you want to know, comment below. Also check your Capricorn energy. That's Earth. Capricorn energy. I've been talking about it because Pluto's there. But if you have anything in Capricorn, and look, we have something. We have Vega by transit. But look in your natal chart to see if you have anything at 11, 12, 13, 14, or 15 degrees of Capricorn, because then that would give you a grand Earth trine. Now, I love when we can have a grand Earth trine. I have a lot of Earth energy. I don't have anything at these degrees. But for some of you out there, you see the big blue trine in the chart. This can be you. And that's the end of the week of July 24th. So we'll talk about more in depth about that in the next video for July 31st. That's the following Monday. I'm not sure what my recording schedule is. I'm not sure if I'll have a chart to show you. But either way, You might be just stuck staring at my face. All right. So thank you for your time. If you don't know and you want to know, just comment below. I'll help you out in any way I can. Bye bye. Below the video, I'll have all the degrees for those of you who like to pay attention to the degrees in your chart. Again, if you don't know and you want to know, just comment below.